And hello everyone. Welcome to our mobile and GraphQL event related to the mobile, obviously, to iOS. And we also will have a speaker related to Android here. Please post a few comments here in the chat so everything is working fine for you. If it is working. Okay, I believe it's working fine. So welcome everyone. Today we have two guests, really passionate engineers in mobile. They've been working with GraphQL for quite a lot before, and today they will share a few words about their experience. Feel free to post your experience with GraphQL if you had any before in the chat, and the questions, if in case of any, guys will answer your questions right after the session. So please welcome Volodymyr and Alexander. Guys,
Hi
stage is
everyone.
yours.
Hi everyone. Hope we could be here, right? Oh, Volodya is gone. Okay, Volodya, let us introduce ourselves. Yeah. Okay, so my name is Volodymyr Leskiv. I am a software engineering team leader at EPAM. So long title. I think need to discuss with my RAM some assessment. Maybe next titles will be more short one. Yeah, have a huge experience in mobile development and particularly with GraphQL technology. Yeah, we with Sasha worked at some project related to GraphQL, and we are going to discuss it with you. Hope it will be enjoyable. Sasha?
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Alexander, or just a short version, Sasha. I'm a lead software engineer, like a less lower title than Volodya has, but more understandable. Yeah, I also have lots of experience in native iOS development and especially actually in GraphQL on the last project. Yeah, let's talk about it later. Volodya, please.
Okay, then I will continue. I will start with some general REST and GraphQL comparison, maybe show you some like some environment where we can play a bit with GraphQL, and then Sasha explain you how to work from client perspective, yeah, from EOS perspective, if to be correct. Okay, so let's have some REST first, yeah. Uh, it's kind of wording games. REST, yeah. So what does a problem REST have for our opinions? Yeah. So first problem is obviously overfetching. Yeah. It could happen especially when you have a web and mobile client. Yeah, and web client receive a lot of data, whilst for mobile client you need only few data. Yeah, and in this case, uh, yeah, mobile is not very happy. Yes, that's why overfetching is happening, and we are receiving much more than we need. Yeah. Every byte is important, yeah, in mobile world, but we will discuss it a bit later, I hope. Another problem is underfetching. It's quite similar, but from one point it's quite similar, but from another it's like opposite. We are receiving not enough data. Yeah, for instance, you have some screen where you need to display few of things, but REST provide you only like one API call for everything. Yeah, and you need to go and to do request one by one in order to display everything on your screen. And again, it could be cool for the web client, but for mobile, it's a problem because we are doing a lot of requests. Yeah, so it's under fetching. And last one, it's like protocol validation. Obviously, with REST, it's cool when you have some documentation, right? So you have some Swagger or something like this. You can check what you need to send, what you will receive. But very often you have some documentation, but in order to check it, you need to try to do something. And I mean to send some request and get some response. And it's not very convenient. From a mobile perspective. And do we have any alternatives for this? Do we have any alternatives for REST? It's also interesting question, because I would say the cool alternative is to maybe rewrite your REST request in another way. But if you try to Google on REST alternatives, or try to ask ChatGPT, for instance, you will get a list of some technology, some protocol. So let's check quickly. Oh, it's WebSockets, usually like very old approach from like V3C standard, which is usually used for some push notification. It's even used in GraphQL, but I will let's discuss it a bit later. SOAP, I believe it's also very old protocol. Based on XML, it has some schema, but also I don't think it could be considered like a pure alternative. What we have else, again, something about like point-to-point communication, gRPC, remote procedure call from Google. It's also has schema, but it's based on HTTP2 actually, and it couldn't be considered for every case. And finally, we have our today's hero, GraphQL. Graph query language was it was settled by Facebook or Meta, and and let's discuss it how it was. So actually, GraphQL story. It like more than 10 years ago, few folks from Facebook. I'm sorry to say it's during developing iOS application. Even here iOS it's first. So they during developing iOS application, they started thinking about some approach, and as story said, they put a first stones into first version of GraphQL. It was for a few years. It was only Facebook's internal story, so it was not open sourced and so on. But at 2015, GraphQL was publicly released. So other companies started kind of to try it and and check whether it's fit for their requirements. And in 3 years after this, so in 2018, it became like open source. So GraphQL Foundation has been set up. A lot of big names joined this. You can see some of them on the screens, and they started contribute into it. And and apart of that, many others big names just use it, even if they are not part of this GraphQL Foundation. So, if to be honest, it's become quite popular, especially among these really big players. And later we will consider why it is so. Okay. GraphQL workflow quickly. Some schema, not GraphQL schema, but we can see the server, we can see the laptop, the developer, and the mobile device. Doesn't matter, iOS, Android. So let's begin. So first of all, we have some schema. In GraphQL, we have schema, which is declare everything. It's declare your types, it's declare your queries, it's declare your mutation. So any communication with like API protocol, yeah, which you can use in your application. So schema, it's like a Bible for your project. At the same time, it's also documentation for your project, which you can always check quickly with some specific tools, navigate, and so on. Okay, so this schema need to be downloaded to your development environment because okay, you have some cool schema and what you need to copy paste it or what. No, it's usually just downloaded into your development environment. So in Android we have some specific Gradle task for this. I believe in iOS it's also somehow automized. So when schema is downloaded, we can then use some client library like Apollo to compile it, and then we will get all this like objects we have in schema, we will get it like in code. Yeah, so some code generation happened here. Developer at this point, developer could start use this object in schema and start to like create some queries, for instance. Yeah, if we want to request something for servers, then we have schema. We could start writing some queries. So developer here is a bit not very convenient. The developer need to write query by himself or just copy paste it. So this query will like use schema, and it's also during compilation will be compiled in object which developer then could use in the application. Yeah, put in this place or in there. So this query, my own mobile query, after compilation will be generated in the class my own mobile query, which you could use in your application. I mean call from your code. Okay, so next step. Obviously, we compile this and deploy our application to device, and then the magic happened. For instance, when user makes some action, yeah, and you coded that your query need to be called after user like press a button, then your client library usually send HTTP post request. Yes, so GraphQL it's actually works over the HTTP protocol. Yeah, so not no big magic here. Yeah, it's usually use post, and this query actually in the same format is sent to the server. Yeah, so you can see we are trying to query some films with some title director inside. Yeah, and what then? And then server BFF will return JSON, which will exactly like clone it the structure we requested, right? So you can see that I hope it's seen or it's easy to see or not. But okay, just believe me. So the structure is the same. The structure returned in JSON is the same which we requested. Yeah, and yeah, that is like general helicopter view how how GraphQL works. Yeah, in general. I mean the workflow. We can discuss it later if you have some question to this. So, okay, so let's quickly discuss the main things which GraphQL have. As I said, schema, the main file, yeah, which you need to have. It's usually created by server developer or let's say by BFF developer. Yeah, we can also discuss what is BFF actually, but let's say by server developer. So he set up schema. He actually implement all queries, mutation, and so yeah. So the beginning starts from server side. So what could be in schema? In schema, we could have like custom objects. You can see custom type character with some fields name and appears in. this exclamation mark, it means the field name is not nullable. It's always like confused for Kotlin developers, yeah, because in Kotlin we have a question mark, which means that fields is nullable, whilst here we have exclamation marks, which means that field not nullable, yeah. And I personally very often forgot when I put this exclamation mark, what does it mean? But okay, it's not. It means that it should be not nullable, yes. So some value could be there. And we have bunch of scalar types, I mean general types like every other language has. And I could repeat that GraphQL, it's like translated as graph query language. Yeah, so it's a language from the very beginning. Okay, so let's go further. Three basic operation in GraphQL. First one, it's a query. It's analog HTTP GET. It's something you use for query, for receiving data from the server. Yeah. Here you can see that we defined two queries. One hero, which take as input parameter episode and returns character, and another query, it's a droid, which also take as input parameter ID and return also some droid object. Okay, it's query, it's simple. Next one a bit, it's also simple, but it's how to explain mutation. Yeah, you know, CRUD operation, yeah, create, read, update, delete. So if query is responsible for read, then mutation responsible for everything else. Very simple. we simplify it here a bit. So via mutation, you can create, you can update, and you can delete. Data. Yeah. So here you can see the simple mutation add book, which take as parameters two strings and which is return the created book, I believe, from the server. We have a possibility to pass object here in the input parameters, but this object should not be like declared like a custom type. It should be declared like input type, and I will show you a bit later. Okay, and set operation time is subscription. Honestly, didn't work much with it, but it's something like push notification. Yeah, it's work via WebSocket. So as I said, query and mutation works over HTTP. Then subscription is. I know it could be some also work over HTTP, but usually, as I know, it's used WebSocket protocol for this. And it's like a simple push notification you could get. And here you can see that like post created field in the type subscription. So we can assume that each time some post object created, you will receive notification in your application. Yeah. Pretty handsome as for me. Okay. Okay, interface. As in usual language, you have interface. I don't think I need to explain much more here. You have interface character, which you could implement with some types. Yes, the main thing, maybe it's obvious, maybe not, that you in your type you have only fields. Yeah, there is no like methods. Yeah, only fields, and maybe it's obvious because it's usually only the data objects. Okay, schema. What else? Input types, which I mentioned before when we discussed mutation. So when we create some mutation and we want to pass object, yeah, then we can create a special type for this special object for this. Yeah, with title, body. You can see here we have input with some title, body, media URLs, whatever here, and you can pass this input into your mutation. Yeah. Okay. Enums, pretty standard thing. And union, very interesting one. So for instance, here you have union search results. So use case, it's simple. You have some text input field, and when you type something, you probably would like to get either books or authors from server. Yeah, maybe you have some bookshop. Yeah, and via union you can achieve this. Also via union, very often, at least at our project, we add also at set parameter here some error. Yeah, and also you got errors in this way. So your search results could have either book, either author, or either error, for instance. Yeah, so pretty convenient as for me. Okay, let's back again quickly to the overfetching, because we mentioned for the very beginning that it's a problem for us because we are usually fetch too much data than we need. And how GraphQL fixes or resolve? Let's check. So here you see pretty interesting pictures. From the left you have REST, which is just call some REST API cheeseburger, and it, as you can see, it just return the full cheeseburger. Yeah, what happens if you don't need some maybe you don't want onion, maybe you have you need to visit your girlfriend or something. You don't like the onion. Yeah, so with REST, I'm sorry. But with GraphQL you can set up exact fields which you want to see in your cheeseburger, yeah, in your response. And here you can see that we specify only a few ingredients and which would like to see in response. Yeah, one interesting thing here, please check this. Yeah, this skip. What is this? So for instance, um, we could like manage what fields we would like to receive even by some input parameters. Yeah, so here you can see that if we pass through in this query, so we are vegan, yeah, then this skip will not allow put the cheese into your final cheeseburger. Yeah, so pretty cool as for me. Yeah. Okay, it overfetching and opposite underfetching. Yeah, yeah. So as I example, we need not cheeseburger, we need some information about the Big Mac menu. Yeah, so in REST you need make, as you can see here, 1 2 3 calls. Yeah, cheeseburger, drink, potato. With GraphQL, we can combine all these queries into one and just call it once and have only one HTTP request. Yeah, and here it is. Here it is, your cheeseburger. Sorry, Big Mac menu. Pretty also, again, it's pretty cool advantage of GraphQL. Yeah, to just combining things all together. Okay. Yeah, some jump from Big Mac menu to some technical stuff. What you can see at this picture, it's actually a screenshot from current Android documentation. I believe iOS device works in the similar manner. Yeah. So what you can see here, so each mobile device has so-called radio module. Radio module, it's a module which is responsible for transmitting data with cell towers, like yeah, so mobile data, let's call it. And this model, yeah, could have different modes, different states. And here at the picture you can see like state machine. So in the right you can see that radio is in full power, and it happens when you transmitting something. For instance, you are making some HTTP request, yeah, and your radio take a full power and your battery drain not a lot but but a bit. And what is interesting is that we are still in full power even 5 seconds after. Yeah, so doesn't matter whether we are transmitting something or not, we are still in full power for 5 seconds. After this, we are like releasing a bit battery and transmitting to the low power state. We are still consuming some battery, so our radio module still consumes some battery, but maybe less amount. And in this state, we are still for 12 seconds, even if we do nothing, even if we not transmit nothing and so on. So totally, you could see that we have like 70 seconds after our some request made, 17 seconds of consuming battery. Yeah, and only after this you will get into standby mode. It's not very cool. Why? And the next picture, you can imagine if you, so we just mentioned 17 seconds. So for instance, if you do something each 20 seconds, for instance, yeah, you sending some requests each 20 seconds, yeah, then you obviously will drain your battery um, a bit worse than if you would just batch this request. Yeah, and here at the picture you can see that yeah, you can see what I just explained, that we usually in state of draining battery. Yeah, but if for instance we will batch all the 3 requests into one, yeah, let's see what we have. We are transmitting 3 requests, we are transmitting for 3 seconds, then as I said, full power for 5 seconds, and then low power for 20. And as you can see, 40 seconds win for your battery, and everyone is happy. Yeah, that's why you usually need to keep in mind that in mobile world, yeah, it's a bit different situation than with pure web development, where we can make any amount of request. Yeah, you can in mobile. You usually need to like keep in mind your battery, like your network. Maybe someone also paid for this bytes. I don't know. Maybe it's still somewhere that people buy some plan, right? So, so I would say that every byte is important. Yeah. Okay. Quickly about BFF. We mentioned a few times BFF. BFF. What is BFF? It's obviously best friends forever. I don't know what to what to explain to you here. Yeah, actually, when we worked, as I said, when we worked at our last project where we touched to GraphQL, we also have the BFF server where this GraphQL was run. And moreover, our team, our mobile team, was like responsible for supporting this BFF. So we are writing this queries, this GraphQL schema and processing by ourselves. Yeah, but in general, in our case, BFF, it was server where GraphQL was launched. Yeah, but in general, it could be not only it could be not only GraphQL. Quick explanation. This wording came somewhere from SoundCloud many years ago, and how the SoundCloud explained it. Well, yeah. So they have a usual situation, like maybe your almost every project have still even nowadays. Yeah, you have some public API, you have some web client, you have some mobile client, you have maybe this API is open and some other API consume your API, whatever. But usually you have this only one API, and doesn't matter how many clients you have. Everyone need consuming. It doesn't matter either someone likes it or not. Okay. So SoundCloud has pretty the same situation, and then decided to introduce this approach of BFF. Yeah, so backend for frontend. Yeah, so as you can see here, they like divide their common API into mobile BFF and web BFF. Again, it could be GraphQL at mobile BFF, it could be GraphQL at web BFF, but it's not really important. It could be still REST, which is just more flexible and more suitable for your client need, either mobile or web. Yeah. So, and that's why this, this concept like works. Also, you can see here that BFF is an API used by the application. BFF is a part of application. It's also statement from SoundCloud. And as look at our experience at our last project, it's it's true, because as I said, we were just supporting BFF by capacity of mobile team actually. Okay, yeah, and some quick improvements which they made to the previous schema. So as let's return back, as you can see here is the problem, because each BFF talk to each service, yeah, and probably they could duplicate each other, yeah. That is why they just adding separate layer which just like combine some common logic, so each BFF not duplicated much. Okay, yes, I think that's all about BFF, and I would like show you quickly like GraphQL environment, which you, but for this I need to share. Okay, I hope you can see it. Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm just wanting to show you, it's just Apollo GraphQL Studio. So it's a tool. We have few tools actually, but it's one of the tool you can use when you're working with GraphQL in order to manage your schema, in order to try to test your queries, mutation, and so on, and check how it works in general. Yeah. So first of all, you have your schema. You see that you have like queries. Here we have 20 queries, for instance. Yeah. Album, which is return some album, list of albums, artists, and so on and so on. Okay, so you have queries, you have mutation, again, list of your mutation, what you can do, and etc. etc. Yeah, you can have, yeah, everything is clickable, obviously, that we can just click on some object and see his fields, where it is used. Yeah. Okay, objects. You can check SDL. It how your schema looks in the in the row. You can see the SDL. Okay, but what is most important here, obviously, this documentation, like it's looks like documentation, right? It's really important because you know what you can use and so on. But what is really important, it's Explorer, and where you can try to test your GraphQL and your server actually. Yeah. So let's try to create some quick example. Okay, so we have some our queries. Yeah, let's try with queries. As you can see, almost all the queries take some parameter, which I have no ideas exactly what is what we need to pass there. But one, it's I believe it's return just information about current user, like me. Yeah, so let's try to execute it. Query. We could pass any name, some test query. Okay, me, yeah. What me returns current user type, and here you can see all fields we have in this current user type. Yeah, you have albums, you have episodes, so on and so forth. Yeah, let's try to albums. Yeah, let's check it. Oops, albums. Albums also have some arguments. You see, we can put some like limitation of the response, and again have some fields. Yeah, it's pretty nested schema seems. Okay, let's check what it has inside. Some datetime field, and here is node. Yeah, I believe it's album. So let's check what fields we would like to see in this album. Let's have some ID. Let's have some label. Let's have some name. Okay, I think it will be enough just for test for the beginning, yeah? And let's run it. Oh, you see, yeah. As I said, you will receive the result in the same structure as you sent. Yeah, that you see me, albums, edge, and you receive all fields you wanna. Yeah, so obviously you can just add some or remove something. Yeah, maybe we don't want name because it seems duplicated. Not duplicated anyway. Yeah, you can see that. So also you have like code completion here. Yeah, so you can see that you can add it. And as I said, we can unite our queries here. So for instance, except albums, maybe we want some, I don't know, some artist. Let's check what artist has. So artist return array. So also some ID, some genres, some name. Okay, let's check. Let's check this one. Oh, something not very good because I believe I put artist not in right place. Okay. Each albums, I think it should be here. Yeah, and what is important here, so you are creating your queries, your custom queries with like queries defined in schema, and then you seems need copy paste it into your IDE in order your IDE compile it and create some object from it. Yeah, so it's a bit, as I said, it's a bit not very convenient, but it's how it works. Yeah, okay, so let's finally try to add some artists. Okay, artists. It's required artist ID. So, and as we don't have like ID, anyway, I hope you in general you got the idea how it, at least how it looks like. Yeah. And yeah, so what else? Maybe we have some playlist. It's also required ID. Okay, anyway, yeah, so yeah, usually when you have GraphQL, you use this environment from your local instance. Yeah, but all these tools also can consume your URL if it's like publicly available, and just display your schema from your server. Yes, I think that's all from my side currently, and we can jump next to the client implementation, I believe.
Well, I believe already Volodya has already like covered almost everything possible, but let's maybe try to find something else or just recall the presentation. Okay, for iOS implementation, the most, I wouldn't say only for iOS, it's possible for Android also, that Apollo SDK is the most popular for the integration with GraphQL. I believe because it's the most successful and no one don't want like to reinvent the wheel and just use what is already in place. But yeah, you can also find some alternatives for this. And what it actually main feature, it's generated Swift types that you can generate Swift types from the schema, and you have it like native Swift elements. You have autocomplete, type checker, and everything. If in REST you have a codable object or uncodable object, or even in some project, I can still see that there are like manually parsing JSON with some keys and also like parameters, and it can be awful. Then there is, you just run one command in terminal and you see you have all the generated code as for input and for output. Also, Apollo client provides efficient caching and some ways to customize it. Also, it provides error handling, I believe, just like all other libraries, not so like not something cool, but just error handling, I would say. What is cool? I would say it's real-time updates. It's a cool feature, and it looks on the first glance pretty easy, but you can like face with some problems here also. Okay, let's go further. Let's talk about code generation. As we already mentioned a lot, the first that we need is a schema. When we download schema on our client, then we generate some operations. Operation, it's query, mutation, or subscription. You have a schema, you created, for example, your query, and then you will need code. Then you just run a special command in your terminal and you have a code. Also, for example, if you like misspelling something on like trying to create queries that is not existing schema, you will just receive an error with some explanations that, okay, you are doing something wrong. Let's look closer at queries. Yeah, it's defined like with a query world. Then you have a query name. It can be any name, and then you should follow the name from your schema. And for example, it's a user. Then we have this query, and this query can contain a different type of arguments. For example, get user profile, and here we would have some by ID and then pass ID in nested object. And another cool feature that in REST we have only like one place for parameters. Here we can have nested arguments. For example, post can has its own arguments, and even like nested object can has its own argument. Additionally, there is like extra feature, as Volodya mentioned, skip. For example, we have like define some skip argument and pass some variable true or false. And also we have another argument as include. Yeah, and we can pass true if we want to include, or not include some field, like somehow to configure it. Also, what we can do with this query, we can a bit improve it. For example, if we need like two different users and they are the same and we need to somehow differentiate them, we can create our own types names, and it calls aliases, and then we can solve this problem. Also, very useful option is to create a fragment. For example, we have different queries that have the same type of parameters. We can just move it in fragment and just with 3 dots like reuse it everywhere where we need it. And look how it actually looks in the code. I believe it will be pretty the same in Android or Flutter, React Native, any other languages. You have some, as I see, some singleton, Apollo shared client fetch, where we pass query. This query, get user profile query, is generated for us. Then we can just put it, and we see a result. It can be a success or failure. And success, we just have access GraphQL result, data, and other user. And other user is also a generated output from the GraphQL schema. Let's talk about mutations. Mutation is, as Volodya mentioned, it's put, post, delete from REST world, but just in one word, mutation. It's pretty similar to query. You also can just another name. You just create mutation, create your mutation, put any parameters that you want, and just generate it. And in the end, you will have some create post mutation. You will have a generated object from the input and generated object from the output. Let's have a look. Yeah, as you can see, we have a mutation, create post mutation, this prefix. We have a generated object from input, from mutation, and just we perform, we don't do fetch, we just do perform, and then just pass our mutation here and also receive some data. It's like very, very easy, nothing special. Let's talk about subscriptions. Subscription is actually to receive some real-time updates as like analog for WebSockets. It looks like very easy. You just have another wallet subscription, and everything again is generated when you run the appropriate command, and you have a new post subscription object, and just call Apollo client subscribe and put this subscription as a parameter. And then in the response, you will later be receiving some real-time updates. What I know, in the client there is no a big deal to set up it, but your BFF or server should do additional work to make it possible to support subscription. And there are what I haven't used it in real project yet, but what I hear that there can be some delays in the call of the response. Let's talk about caching. I don't want to stop a lot here because there is a lot of different words in documentation, and now all the project want to have some crash. I would say like almost everyone wants just to receive a fresh data. But Apollo has this caching mechanism, and it can provide us shortened loading times, reduce our costs if we have some billing for the API calls, and also less data usage for our application. And the caching is a bit complicated in GraphQL because it's try our query and mutation just not store as it is, just to find object, for example, different object from different queries on mutation, and store it separately. And then, for example, if you reuse some query or some mutation, it can be getting like from cache from another query. It's like separate cache, and also it can be updated through all your queries. And there is file, it's called schema generation in Apollo SDK, where you can like override some method and provide some your caching, for example, like provide some expiration and some other stuff that you would like to effectively cache. Also, let's look about error handling. We have two kind of errors. We have a network errors. Actually, network errors represent just our usual error from HTTP. For example, like a 500 errors that something is with a server, or I don't know, it can be that some connection is closed or the app is offline. You don't have, like, here we can like check you don't have internet connection, please check your device. And another type is GraphQL errors. It's a bit custom thing that there is no like the exact structure. It can be like any errors when proceeding this query, that server cannot correctly proceed your query, and then some partial data can be returned, or there some be detailed. For example, the server cannot find this element in our database, something like that. And let's try to summarize all the benefits what Volodya already mentioned. So the first, efficient data fetching. Yeah, we've already discussed the REST suffer from overfetching and underfetching. With GraphQL, we can efficiently solve it. Also, flexibility in versioning, that sometimes in REST API you don't have so a lot of version, especially if you have different endpoints, and each endpoint can has its own version, and you can forget to just migrate a new version and has some problem in GraphQL. You are just like satisfied with what you have, and everything about migration is on server side and on BFF side. Faster development iteration, that's definitely true, especially if you are smart enough. You can just like wait when Android or iOS already finish their work, just copy all query and mutation, just generate the schema and just call it. That's how I did on my last project. Strongly typed schemas that you cannot like do some mistakes, because everything is already defined as schema. You just cannot generate it if you did some mistakes. Single request multiply resources. Yeah, is that that we can like create some our query and fetch it from 3 different endpoints in once, and how we can proceed with underfetching here. Customizable responses, yeah, it's like to solve the overfetching, that we can like customize how Volodya showed in real life examples, that we can just remove some element and remove some types fields and don't receive it. And yeah, efficient caching in case if we really need it. Let's look at some suggestion. The most, I would say, the most painful for me when not I, but one on my teammate used a GraphQL object in the UI, and then there was a request from customer like to add a new field to the existing enum, but local one, and we can add it from the BFF side. And then I need just like to create another object enum and just try to like migrate, try to bind it from the BFF object. Yeah, it's good like to have to start has separate projects that you can like independently work with. And
Yes.
also
The next one I can take, Sasha, if you obviously, so when we develop schema, so I'm now talking from BFF developer perspective. I mean, from one who develops the schema. When we develop the schema, and when you have like, usually you have 2 mobile clients, yeah, and so you need to optimize it so your clients will not like repeat works for their because yeah, so you can just any mappings, additional, any conversion, anything you think they will need like clone on their projects. So everything should be like moved to the BFF layer. Yeah.
Yeah, and I can say I use it like schema directly from my project. Just press Command F and just try to find like different queries. But developing this presentation, I discovered that we have tools where we can see all the queries, all the mutation, and you don't need to manually find it in the pure schema.
So you see, guys, the preparing to the presentation for sure give you a lot of benefits. Yeah. So just can you move back? Just quick addition. Yeah. So here in tools I mentioned Apollo GraphQL Studio, the one I displayed during our presentation. Another one interesting thing. It's also the tool I'm recently found, and I think it could be helpful in the case when you want to see the relationships between your types, between your objects, and so on. Yeah, because in schema you have like plain list of your objects. Yeah, you can go throughout the types, throughout the return types, but here is the tool GraphQL Voyager, which could draw a graph from your schema, and where you can see how your all objects, all your types are related to each other. Obviously, when you have like more than 100 types, it could become a bit messy, I believe, but it's pretty cool in order at first glance understand what is the relationships and what could be optimized for instance, yeah, in your schema. Yeah. Yes. So is everything so perfect with GraphQL? I think we mentioned already some parts which we don't like. Yeah. So let's go quickly one by one. Obviously, for GraphQL you required some additional activities in your server. So it could be either dedicated team or dedicated person, or it could be part of your responsibilities as mobile team. But anyway, it will took some time, yeah, at any case. Yeah, so you need to keep that in mind. Yes, the second one I mentioned already is that it's about that you need to manage this files with queries. So this custom queries which you create, like one I created in the Apollo Studio, then you need to copy paste it into your project, into GraphQL file, and in order your like IDE compile it to the objects you can use. Yeah. So I don't think it's really convenient. Maybe actually, I'm not sure what is the solution for this. Maybe there is anyway, so you could share with us if you have like any ideas.
Yeah,
Okay, Sasha, maybe you
add
next.
about this. Yeah, when you have a lot of like nested objects in the query or mutation, you will have just a long access like fragment, success on and something like that. Yeah, you will have some very long names, but you can use some type aliases in Swift. I believe and there is some alternative in iOS just to define a shorter name.
Mhm. Yeah, next one about error processing. So we use, even though we use HTTP, we are not eligible to use like all benefits from HTTP, like status codes or caching, for instance. Yeah. So regarding status codes, yeah, you obviously you could return any errors in your schema via your schema. Yeah. So, but you are not allowed to return errors via the HTTP response. Yeah, that's why it's like not always good. Yeah. So, and next one, obviously, it's a funny part. I actually never tried this, but I believe it for sure it's possible. Yeah. So as you as you have so like so deep access to your data. Yeah, so you can you can combine and you can unite a lot of queries into one. Yeah. And run it at once, and obviously your server maybe will not like it. I remember we have like just that some timeouts at either at clients or at server. Some network timeouts were exceeded, so we need just for some case we even just need to increase them. Yeah, because so long queries were built. Yeah, so you need to always keep this in mind. And
Yeah. I would add also, there is not specified, but the most powerful, the most painful is migration. When you have like dependency on some library Apollo, and when there is some major updates. For example, in last project, it took us almost months to migrate from one major Apollo version to another, because everything is changed, generation is changed. It can be a real hell.
okay, and quickly the last one of the last, I believe. So yeah, the answer, do you really need the GraphQL? You need to ask yourself first. Yeah, but we suggest you some list. Obviously check your REST API, maybe it fits your need. As we said already, that maybe you have only one client, maybe it's only mobile client. Then you go to the shop and buy a beer for your server-side developer, so he could adjust REST API for your needs, and then obviously you don't need GraphQL, at least for the very beginning. Yeah. And yeah, are you ready to invest into additional resources, which obviously will require this layer? Yeah, it's also a question, but obviously you will get the benefits in the long run. Yeah, that I would say that probably yes. And obviously also if it's some kind of pet project or something, you can try, you can play. But if it's a really short-term project, maybe no needs to invest into GraphQL. But if it's like huge one, then probably we always need to keep this in mind. Yes, so that we have such cool technology.
I would suggest at least give it a try.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, a few useful links about GraphQL, some general. The last one about BFF, interesting article from Michal Stepanchik, yeah, our Android lead from EPAM. So yeah, I totally recommend to check it. For everyone, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and thank you. Yeah, Volodya, we are glad to. Seems I already missed you.
Okay, yeah, thank you guys for sharing about GraphQL. I've definitely heard some new stuff, even had the GraphQL on my previous project as well. Um, so the chat was quite silent, to be honest. There was one question I had at the time from myself, whether you had any kind of issues or challenges with GraphQL. So do you have anything in mind on top of what you mentioned already, like on the last slide? Anything else? Maybe versioning?
The biggest challenge it was just, yeah, if you didn't work with GraphQL before, obviously you need some time to invest. Yeah. And there is a common thought that, oh, maybe if team is not ready for GraphQL, then maybe we need to think. Yeah, but I would suggest everyone just do not wait this moment when you got this project where with GraphQL, yeah, and invest some time and learn it. It's not it's pretty simple, I think, in general. Yeah, so for sure you will meet it in future, maybe in near future. Yeah, so the
Okay.
big challenge for me personal, the big challenge was also moving to the BFF. Yeah, even though I had some JavaScript um, experience before, yes. So we had BFF, which was written with Node.js and TypeScript, yeah, and all the stuff. It was like a big challenge, yeah. But that's why I don't know. Maybe that's why I have so many words in in the title. That's why some such tasks were assigned to me. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. And as I mentioned, what about versioning, right? So basically every app update will have a new schema, like bundled with it with generated code. But if something will be removed from the server, then it will break,
You
right?
always need to remind that you still have some old application who could use some old schema. Yes, so
Okay. So it's basically the same as with REST, that you should keep in mind all the users that still haven't updated. Okay, that's basically it. So again, thank you everyone for joining. Please give a thank you, our rating to our speakers. I've posted the links in the chat. Feel free to join our communities for getting even more events. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to see more streams. I believe we can see each other quite soon. And meanwhile, guys, any last words from your side?
yeah, hope you enjoy this talk and don't wait. Use GraphQL tomorrow.
Yeah, take care and use GraphQL.
Okay, thank you everyone. See ya. Bye.
Bye.